Cheers. Welcome to my 10th episode. I'm the Cooler Dalton, here expanding on ideas, wisdom, and knowledge as I have and will experience it. I am almost at 200 subscribers, and I wanted to say thank you to everybody that's been watching, commenting, liking, and sharing my videos. Every viewer I reach is an opportunity for me to be able to add value into someone else's life. I recently took a poll on my Instagram and found that over 60% of my followers have no idea how their credit score is determined. And if you didn't get an opportunity to participate in that poll, that's okay. It's not too late. Go follow at dalton.han on Instagram and you can participate in the next one. Now, in the grand scheme of life, I don't really think a credit score is something that gives someone fulfillment. So it doesn't really surprise me that a lot of people don't really know and just don't care about the way a credit score even works. However, I do think that a credit score is a tool, and if you know how to use that tool, it can make some of your financial situations a little bit easier. Now, if you have no credit at all, don't worry about it. Stick around to the end of this video, and I do have a couple tips on how you can build your credit score from zero. Having a bad credit score to the financial world is like an old toothbrush to a bathroom sink. It can't do much, you don't really want to look at it, and you prefer that nobody else ask about it. It's just embarrassing. So you tend to keep it out of sight and out of mind. But a brand new electric toothbrush sitting there in its glistening oral hygiene glory, man, now that feels good to look at and use. That feeling of weightless effort is the feeling that I want you to have when you look at and use your credit score. I have talked to a lot of people about credit scores, and when I talk to most people, they have no idea why their credit score goes up or down. So in this video, I'm going to go over the factors that actually do affect your credit score so that you can be more conscious of the way it all works. Now, whether your credit score is below 500 or above 700, they're all judged by the same standards. I got this list from the Chase Bank website, but all companies use the same factors to determine your score. At the top of the list is payment history, taking up a whopping 40%. Payment history clearly weighs the heaviest on your credit score, and this factor is all based on late payments. The more late payments you have, the more interest you have to pay, the more it affects your credit score, and it's all just a really big mess. So if you can, just please make your payments on time. The second heaviest category is going to be your credit history, weighing in at 21% of your overall credit score. And this factor relates to the date that you open your oldest line of credit, as well as how many lines of credit you have. Having a line of credit open for years can actually be beneficial to you because it shows reliability. The next factor is credit usage, which amounts for 20% of your credit score. This is a significantly high impact, and it's really important to understand. Credit usage means the amount of credit that you actually use. For example, if your credit limit is $10,000 and you only use $1,000, that means that you're only using 10% of your overall credit limit. And this is attractive to lenders because they know that you're not going to use more than you need and that you're going to be paying it back. At a moderate 11% is your total balances. This is the amount of debt that you have yet to pay back and most commonly relates to mortgages and auto loans. Your total balances are taken into significant consideration when you're going to apply for more lines of credit or for a loan, because lenders want to see that your debt or how much you owe to other people is significantly supplemented by your income or how much you make. Coming in at 5% of your credit score is the credit check. This is the one that everybody's always worried about. This is one of the lowest factors affecting your credit score and just relates to how many hard pulls your credit has had from lenders in the past year. Most people are really worried about how getting their credit pulled is going to affect their score, but you can see at 5%, it's really not that significant. And the last 3% of your score is determined by your available credit. This factor really isn't too hard to comprehend. It's just how much credit would be available to you if you were to apply for it. And that's it. Those are the 6 factors that determine your credit score. If your goal is to increase your credit score, these are the key takeaways that I'd get from this video. You want to make sure that you're paying your bills on time and that you're paying your loans off as soon as possible. Dave Ramsey, which I'm sure is a name that you all know, he actually has this idea called the debt snowball, which is where you start off with the smallest debt that you have and you work on paying that off. And once you have that paid off, then you move to the second smallest and you just continue paying off the debts. But you start with that small one so that as soon as you get that paid off, you have a small feeling of victory. It actually motivates you and you get the momentum and the ball rolling to continue paying off more and more of your debt. And with payment history being at 40%, this would really be one of the best ways to increase your credit score. Secondly, don't worry about having open lines of credit that you're not using. It's better to have a line of credit open and not in use than it is to close it and not be able to have that in your credit history as a reference. And lastly, do not use all the credit that you're approved for. Only spend what you can afford to pay back and don't spend money that you don't have. Now, if you have no credit at all, you've probably come to realize that unless you're going to pay for everything in full in cash, then you're going to have to start to realize how credit works and how you can use it. No doubt, one of the best ways by far that I used to build credit was a secured credit card. The reason you're going to be going with a secured credit card instead of a regular run-of-the-mill credit card is because you don't have any credit history, so you're most likely not going to be able to get approved for one of those big bank credit cards. What I found was that the easiest way to get a secured credit card was from my local credit union because they're a little bit more willing to take a risk with you than the bigger banks are. With a secured credit card, you're going to give the bank between $100 and $500, and they're going to give you a credit card with the amount that you gave them as your limit on that credit card. So it's almost like you're using your own money as a credit card. You're paying yourself back and you're building credit at the same time. It's really interesting how it works. Now, it's important that you don't use up this entire credit card every time you use it. When I used it, I really only bought gas and groceries, and I made sure to pay it off every time I made a purchase, or at least a week before the payment was due. After a couple months of using the secured credit card, you're going to have enough history to start applying to bigger credit cards that'll have a larger limit, but it's important to keep your secured credit card open because that is a line of credit that adds to your credit history. And it's also important to remember to adopt the same discipline when you get a credit card with a higher limit. You don't want to go off willy-nilly spending money that you don't have now. Only spend money that you have with the credit card. And so if you're going out to lunch and lunch costs $15, use that credit card, pay the lunch for $15, and then when you get back to your car, you can use your phone, you just pay off that bill immediately, and there you go. You're establishing credit history. After time goes on and you continue increasing that credit history and making sure that you're disciplined with the way that you use it, you'll start to be approved for larger and larger amounts, and that just looks better to lenders as a whole. I really hope that this video helped you understand credit scores and how they work and how you can use them. And if it did, I hope that you'll share it with somebody who could benefit from the same knowledge. I'll see you next time, and as always, stay cool.